Hi, sixth graders. So this is your lesson video for 7.1.3. How can I find the rate? We're looking more closely at unit rate. So if you were feeling at all confused on the Desmos activity last week, this should help because I'm going to be showing you really clearly, I hope, how to find the unit rate given a table and some information from a problem. So looking at CPM, I hope you have this pulled up as well. We're going to be doing 1.5 problems, and I say 1.5 because I'm going to do one with you and then start one with you, and your challenge is to try the rest on your own. And then I'll be posting a video later today going over the answers to that second problem. So looking at this lesson, we're talking about unit rate, and you've probably heard the phrase like miles per hour, beats per minute, and all of those are referring to a unit rate. We are comparing something to something else with a denominator of 1, and that actually is your vocabulary word right here. So make sure that you add that to your notebook as well. So the first problem that we're looking at is car mileage. And even though you're not quite old enough to buy a car yet or drive, it is important to look at mileage of cars, which means how far can your car travel given a certain amount of gas. So that's important because you're spending money not only on your car, but on gasoline to make it go. So one of the things that I did comparing cars when I was purchasing one was, oh, this is great because it can get like 30 miles to the gallon on the highway, and it can get maybe 20 so miles per gallon on the streets. And that's a unit rate, essentially. It's saying that I can travel 30 miles on 1 gallon of gas. So that's what we're looking at in this problem. We have a table here, and we're looking at gas in gallons, the distance for car A and the distance for car B, and then we're going to be adding a car C later on. So the first job that we need to do is to complete this table. So what I'm going to do is pull up this table on my iPad or hopefully do that, or I'm going to copy it somehow, and it's going to magically appear. So give me 1 second. Okay, so we're back, and here is my table. I copied it from CPM. I'm sorry that it's kind of sloppy. And then I went ahead and added car C's column because we're going to be using that in part C, where it says a third car uses 6 gallons of gas to travel 120 miles. So I just went ahead and added that in there. So what we're going to do is first we have to complete this table, but in order to do so, we need to find the unit rate for each car. And that's going to tell me how many miles each car gets for 1 gallon of gas. And do you notice that that's not an option over here in my gallons? So we have to calculate that ourselves. So let me see if I can create a separate page here. I'm going to try to get fancy. Super fancy. Ooh, okay. And cool. Okay. So the first car that we're looking at is car A. And I'm going to write down what we know about car A from the table. So looking at car A, now how do I go back to my table? Okay. So car A says that it can take 5 gallons of gas to go 150 miles, and it can take 6 gallons of gas to go 180 miles. So I'm going to use that information to find my unit rate. So it said that it can go 150 miles in 5 gallons of gas. And if you were at our talk on Friday, what I talked about was the order in which you divide. So on the Desmos activity, we were talking about money to items. And since money was the big thing that was being divided amongst each item to find out how much each item cost, kind of the same idea here, except miles is the big amount that we are dividing amongst each gallon, and we're trying to figure out how many miles we can get per gallon. So this is a simple division problem, 150 divided by 5. So that would give us 30 miles per gallon. And just to check, it also said that it gets 6 gallons of gas with 180 miles. So if we divide 180 by 6, that also gives us 30 miles per gallon. So our unit rate for car A is 30 miles to the gallon. So I'm going to make a note of that. So this is 30 miles per gallon. Okay, so on to car B. Looking at car B, we have an example of 54 miles in 3 gallons, and then 180 miles in 10 gallons. So actually the 181 is going to be easier to look at because we can just divide them both by 10 to simplify. So 180 miles in 10 gallons. And if we divide those, we get 18 miles per gallon, which if you divide the other one too, that'll also give you 18. Cool, so now that we have the unit rates, we can go back and fill in our table. So now I'm going to take whatever is in the gas amount column. I'm going to multiply it by the unit rate, and that's going to tell me the mileage for that car. So in this case, car A, since it goes 30 miles per gallon, I'm going to multiply that by 3 gallons to see how far it can go. And 3 times 30 is 90. So again, because my unit rate is 30, that's for 1 gallon of gas. I want to figure out how far it can go on 3 gallons of gas. So I'm going to multiply 30 by 3 and get 90. For 10 gallons of gas, I'm going to multiply 10 times 30 and get 300 gallons, miles. And then for 12, I'm going to multiply 12 times 30, which gives me 360 miles. Okay, so we're going to do the same process for car B. So I'm going to multiply 3, or they already did. 3 times 18 gives us 54. So now I'm going to multiply 5 times my unit rate, 18, and that'll give me my mileage. So in this case, 5 times 18 is 90. 6 times 18 is 108. And 12 times 18 is 216 miles. Okay, so now we're going to go back and look at our question on CPM just to make sure that we got everything. Okay, so it says, which car can travel the farthest on 5 gallons of gas? So that we can use our table. So 5 gallons, well, car A can travel 150 miles and car B can only travel 90 miles. So I think car A is the sure winner right here. So then the next part C says a third car uses 6 gallons of gas to travel 120 miles. Add a fourth column and complete the other 5 ratios. So I started that here. So we need to find the unit rate for car C. So I'm going to have you pause the video and see if you can find the unit rate for car C if you know that it can go 120 miles on 6 gallons of gas. And pause. And we're back. Okay, so let's take a look at car C. Can go 120 miles on 6 gallons of gas. So we just need to divide, which will give us 20 miles to the gallon. That's our unit rate. So 20 miles per gallon. So I'm going to add that back up here. Okay, and then now we just need to multiply that unit rate by however many gallons of gas we're trying to find. So 20 times 3 is 60. I'm going to use a different color. Hold on. 20 times 3 is 60. 20 times 5 is 100. 20 times 10 is 200. And 20 times 12 is 240. So we just completed 7-24. Okay, so we're back and we're looking at 7-26. Now this one is kind of tricky. It took me a couple times to read through it and make sure that I was reading it correctly. So this is about 2 girls who like to knit, Tamika and Lois, and they, the important information to see here is that Tamika started knitting the scarf last week, but Lois is just starting now. So that means that Tamika has a head start on Lois. So when you're first looking at this table, Tamika's amount is not going to be 0 here because these tables are started after Lois joined her. So that means that Tamika is going to have some amount of scarf at 0 hours, which seems kind of weird, but that's because she had a head start. So it's like, I already started the scarf. Okay, so what we're going to do here is complete the table and then try to find the rates at which they knit and how long it's going to take them to complete a scarf that's 27 inches. And then if they knitted for 12 hours, how long would the scarves be? And then looking at a graph. So again, like I said, I'm going to start this problem with you, but then the rest is going to be up to you. Okay, so I already created a table. So Tamika, like we said, it's not going to be 0, 0 because she had a head start. So it's not really clear just by looking at the table what her unit rate is because she had that head start. So we have to look at the difference between the time. And what I mean by that is if you did it like our last problem with the cars and said, oh, well, I just do 7 divided by 1 and that's going to give me 7. But wait, that's not going to work for this one because 9 divided by 2 is not 7. So we're going to look at how much she knitted between hours 1 and 2. So looking at it that way, going from 1 to 2 hours, she had a difference here of 2 inches. Okay, so that means that Tamika's unit rate is 2 inches per hour. Okay, so that means in 3 hours, she's going to have 11 inches on her scarf because we're just adding 2 inches each time. So going backwards, that means that when she started with Lois, she had 5 inches on her scarf. For Lois, hers is simple. We can use the same method that we did with the cars and say 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. So that means that Lois's unit rate is 3 inches per hour. And that one's a little bit more simpler. Okay, so I hope that kind of makes sense. If not, go back and maybe hear me explain it one more time. Okay, so at what rate does Tamika knit? We said 2 inches per hour, and Lois is 3 inches per hour. So Lois decided that she wants her scarf to be 27 inches long. How long will it take her to complete the scarf? So this is what you are going to answer. So if Lois continues this table, what they want to know is how long is it going to take her to go 27 inches. So I want you to try to complete that. And then if Tamika and Lois both knitted at their unit rates for 12 hours total, how long would each of their scarves be? So this is another one where you can complete it yourself. So again, saying in 12 hours, how much are they going to have knitted? Okay, so using that unit rate. And then if we graph the data, this is what your homework is going to be like. So if we graph the data so that X is the amount of hours and Y is the length, which line would appear steeper? So that means that it is growing longer over a shorter amount of time. So drawing a basic graph, let's look at Tamika first. So if Tamika had 0 hours and she was already at 5 inches, I'm going to make these in increments of 5, I guess. So Tamika's would start off like 0, 5, and then it would go 1, 7. I can't make a dot. There we go. And then 2, 9. So her line 3, 11. So her line is kind of going like this. Okay. And then Lois, hers is 1, 3, 2, 6. And do you see how I'm kind of using these as coordinate points? And then 3, 9. So hers is kind of going like this. So that makes sense that Lois's is steeper because she's knitting at a faster rate, because we said her unit rate was 3 inches per hour compared to Tamika's 2 inches per hour. Okay, so the only thing you have left to do here is fill in those question marks on the table and then practice on your iExcel activity. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And again, I will be posting a help video later on today. Thanks, guys, and have a good day. Bye.